MySQL, Oracle, and all those things are RDBMS. They are relational databases. So what happens in that case is, so you might have heard of a structure called as tables, like if you have worked with databases at any point of time in your life,
Sankul,
you have databases.
sorry to interrupt you. Have you shared your screen? Because we are unable to see.
Yeah, I have. Okay, actually I shared it, I'll reshare it, not a problem.
Yeah.
I had shared it earlier. Yeah. Right. Okay. Can you see right now? Can you see now?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes, I can see.
Okay, fine. Yeah, so here, again, maybe the heading is wrong. It's not for as MongoDB on the right-hand side of your screen. It should be like a NoSQL database. But just to give you a brief idea how a relational database and your non-SQL databases differ. So on the top part, here you have the word database. Also on MongoDB, on the top is again a database. Hence the name you have this MongoDB, right? A MongoDB is also a database. A SQL Server is also a database. Okay. The difference between these two is what happens below the word database. In relational database, we have got relationships. So you might have heard of foreign key relationships is one of the things. And that is pretty much the main part of it. Right? So if I'm having two tables or three tables, I want to save some information. Say like for a city ID and a state ID, a state master, city master, if I have to save your address, with my SQL server, I will go and create a state master and a city master, and in my address table, I would be keeping a reference of a state and a city. In MongoDB, we don't do such things. So, yes, here we also have a state master and a city master in MongoDB, we do have it. But here, we straight away store the values. Now, second question. I can do the same thing in my SQL Server also. Instead of saving the state ID, I can save the state name. You can do that. Pretty much, yes. Actually, you can do that. So how does MongoDB come into picture now? Here the main thing is, in your relation databases, whatever you are using, the structure is pretty much fixed. Right? So in a table, if I have got 2 columns or 3 columns, that is it. I cannot go and add more columns to it. Right? I can have n number of rows, but my columns, they remain the same. While here in NoSQL database, we don't have the concept of row and column. First of all, we don't have the concept of table. Here in MongoDB, we have collections. So you can take it pretty much like an array list, which is a collection. So if you have ever used the entity framework, your I collection kind of a classes, that is pretty much the same how you save in a MongoDB. Or if you might ever use JSON. In JSON, you don't have a fixed format of the type you want to return. You can on a runtime, you can send XML. You can define on a runtime that unless you have an XSD file, you can define, okay, these are going to be my nodes, and 7 nodes, 8 nodes, how much ever nodes I want, I can go and add them. So pretty much your NoSQL works in a similar way. Now, how would this help me? The first thing is, you actually remove all the possible joins that ever happen in your table. So whenever you run your queries, and if you go and check the performance of it, you might observe most of the time you are actually spending more time in joins, right? So if I'm saving ID, so first I do a join with my city table, I do one more join with my state table, and then I bring in the name. Imagine a person, uh, say like the application which I'm working on right now, we are working for doctors. And a doctor can actually visit multiple clinics or multiple hospitals. Ideally, in my RDBMS system, how would I do it is, I would have a doctor ID and I would have a clinic ID. I would map as a foreign key from doctor to my in my clinic address database, table, and then I go and keep on adding all its addresses. So the next time when I want, say, all the addresses where this doctor is working, I need to perform a join. So here I need to perform a join even if I am saving the values. But in MongoDB, what I do is I create a structure in such a way. Address 1 is address, address 2, inside a collection, there is a third address, fourth address. So when I want to go and retrieve all these addresses, I can do that without performing a join. So that gives me a pretty much flexibility in which, like, I can go ahead and perform all my operations. Again, mind you, your NoSQL database is not a replacement for relational database. Okay, it is just an option. You need to really take a call based on your requirements that if you really want to use that or not. So that would be your first criteria to should I use MongoDB? Should I use relational? In most of the systems, say you won't be requiring your MongoDB, but yes, where you have got multiple multiple situations, or say like your Aadhaar card information, where you have a child, a parent, and who has got multiple children. Because if you observe your Aadhaar card, you just need to give your parents documents, and there you would find this in reference son of so and so person. If you observe your Aadhaar card, I'm not sure which database they are using, but in this kind of a system, it becomes pretty much helpful for me. Now, again, most of your NoSQL databases are open source. Fine. NoSQL is also open source, right? So again, not so if you really want, like, I want an open source system, so I should go for NoSQL, or like in our case, let's say MongoDB. Again, that won't serve your purpose. In my case, MongoDB, it can be installed on Windows, Linux, and Mac machines. So it is cross-platform. But again, your NoSQL is also cross-platform, right? So all these things really don't. All this jargon, they don't really support the need for NoSQL. Only like it is totally based on your need basis. So if whatever other feature that MongoDB is providing me, do I really need that in my application? And if your answer is yes, only then. And mind you, if, God forbid, if you actually have to do a join operation in your MongoDB, your output is way slower than relationship database. Yes, there are ways in which you can perform join on MongoDB. We would be covering in this topic. On later topics, we would be covering it, but there is a specific way by which you have to do it. So again, there, your performance would take a huge hit. So all those things you actually have to take care before you go and decide what system you want to use. Okay, so let's start with MongoDB. And where do we start? Simple. Wait, I go to mongodb.org. Can you all guys see my screen? Hello.
Yes, I can see, but the resolution is again bit different.
Okay, because I see somebody mentioned the screen is freeze, so yeah. With, uh, can you see the folder MongoDB by any chance?
No.
Hello? No. Okay,
No. Just change the resolution.
because let me check, change that again. Hopefully it works this time. Is it clear now?
Yeah, now we can see the whole screen.
Okay, fine. Perfect. So that is pretty much. Okay, let's close this window. So if you go over here, you can just go and click on download button, and in the community server, you can select which operating system you are using and the version you want. Right. So right now I am using the with SSL support for 64-bit, and that is pretty much about it. What I am using actually. Right. Yeah. If using Linux or anything else, you can go and change uh, the option you want to. So when you download the MSX file and install it, right, it will go to your machine. Yep. Program file. This would be the folder that you would be seeing. Then there is a bin folder and a data folder. Right now, you might not see data folder, but of course the bin folder would be accessible to you. And of course, whenever you install or do any changes in MongoDB, make sure you have the admin rights. That is the first thing, right? So, of course, it is just a simple click and install. You don't require any username password when you are making your installation, like we do in SQL Server. Later we will see how you can go and add a default username, password, and whatever you want to add to. But initially, it's just like a normal straight clean install. It's almost like a one-click installation, right? So to start off with, right-click on the bin, and at the same time, press the Shift button. So when I press Shift and I do a right-click, I'll see this menu. Here you can see Open Command window here. If you don't do Shift, you won't be seeing this menu. So make sure you are in admin mode. You press the Shift and then you click the right click button. Okay? Yeah. So let's start the Mongo server. To start the Mongo server, there are two commands. We'll be looking at both the commands. So for the server, it is Mongo. And if I were to start a client, my command is Mongo, right? So for the server, I just add an extra D. So let's see, like after installing, when I run the command Mongo for the first time, what happens? For the first time, you can see the MongoDB is starting. It has given a process ID, a port number 27017 is the default port number, right? The DB path has been sent to C data DB, but here you will find an exception. C data directory not found, because when you install it, it has not been created. So let's create a directory. You can create a directory going inside your C, like you normally do with your Windows, or over here I prefer. It's the same thing. C data DB. It will give you where it has by default set ideally it will be always at C colon slash data slash DB, right? And I need to create one more directory, that is C colon slash data slash log, L-O-G, right? So when you do this, both my directories are being created. So let me verify that, right? So I can see that in my data, I have my DB file, it's empty right now, and I also have got a log folder. Both are empty. Okay, log will remain empty, but right now let's focus on data slash DB. Now let's go and start a Mongo server. That's Mongo. Okay. So here you can see the MongoDB has been started and there has been no error. Here initially we were saying there was an exception and there was an exit. And let's see what happens at journals and everything will come to it. Okay, but this is pretty much the way you start your MongoDB server. Okay, now we have done this part successfully. Now how do we go to our client? Again the same method, shift, right click, open command window here. So here, as I mentioned earlier, the command for my client is Mongo, M-O-N-G-O. M-O-N-G-O. I click, you can see it has been Mongo shell has started connecting to test. Now, the word test, this is the default name of my database, which has been created. Let's see over here what happens on the server. Okay. So on a server you can see waiting for connection accepted from my IP, right? One connection now open. So this is the client that had opened. Let me create one more client and see if it is really my client. So now I have got two clients running. Let's see on my server. I just press an enter. So I can see now total two connections are open. Just for simplicity's sake, I'll go and exit one of the clients. Okay, so that I did not keep switching between a lot of windows. So here you can see after I have closed the second, you can see now only one connection is open now. Right. So let's see what happens over here. Right now our server is working perfectly and fine, and we don't need any more help from our server right now. I am not closing it, I am just minimizing it, and we will start working on our client straight away. Can you guys see a small command prompt over here? Right? Can you guys see my screen? So we have connected to the test. Can you all see my screen by any chance? Okay, so let me start with whatever my database connections are there. I'll do show DBS. Okay. When I do show DBS, it will show me all my databases which are connected right now. So one is local. It is not taking any space. Okay. And if I want any more help, I just need db dot help. And this is got to move, and this MongoDB shell supports JavaScript. So what we are doing is just writing some small JavaScript commands for this, right? So I can see all the information available on my uh, all the information available from my server, right? Yeah. Now, as I mentioned earlier, uh, I- your MongoDB database has got a set of collections inside, right? So I want to now go and see what all collections are available. So all I do is show collection. Right now we have not done any changes to the database. We have not added anything. Hence we don't see any collections available right now. Okay. So let's say like this is a default server that normally would be this local. But say I want to create my own server. Okay. So all I need to do is here you can see it has switched my database to Sankol. Now again if I go into show VBS, it won't show anything, it will just show you local because we have not added any collections in this database. So let's add a small connection. DB is always for database dot command is my column dot insert. Since this takes JSON object, I give name as test1. And see it has inserted the data correctly. Now let us see what happens when you do. So here you can see since I've added the collection, I can see local as well as Sankul over here. Uh, This database is not visible. Okay. So here you can see that one connecting to test. Can you see that? Right. Yep. And by the way, a local in your test are the same. So I hope that answers your question. Right. Yep. So after we have inserted in some tool, we get all this information. So what I've done next is I have predefined some of the queries that there are a lot of queries that we would be doing today for the MongoDB, but I have already done some of the queries written freehand, so that it becomes easier for us to instead of focusing on insert, we focus more on fetching the data. So if I normally if I actually look at it, this is how my sample object looks like. So here, wherever you if you'll observe, you will always have when you fetch a data underscore ID. So that is in a way it is very similar to our GUID that we have in a SQL database. So whenever you insert a collection, it will give you a unique ID to it. And hence, so we have this underscore ID, that's unique ID. The value would be the object ID. The object ID will be coming at a later stage. Your object ID and your GUID are a bit different thing, and that is the reason you have got a separate data type. We will look into it when we go into C# programming, and then it's like a normal JSON object. I've given a name, uh, whatever, if it's a class 12, the subjects, whatever he has, his address, the grades what you have got, maybe in unit test 1, unit test 2, and that's pretty much the same thing, right? So that's a pretty much simple object that we have created, and we won't be inserting it. This object, it is just for initial data, whatever data I had added. So we were doing that. Now, so let's look at a simple insert statement that we have created earlier. So I am creating a doc. So it's just it's more like a where. Okay, I'm not defining where over here, but it's like a doc. I have given a name, the class. It's pretty much similar to my initial part. The class, my subjects, my address. Right. I have not given grades right now, but we will do it later on. Right. So, and as I mentioned earlier, it is database. My collection, it is the name of the collection which I need to add. Okay, so right now my database name is Sankul, which I have created. So I have a database name. I have made set to Sankul because you can see over here is I have made use Sankul. So it's similar to we do in your SQL server. Use database name, right? And the next part over here is my collection. So I'm just using the collection. If you look at, yeah, your collection is actually a table. Okay. So here database.table-name.insert, right? So it's pretty much similar to your SQL queries we write. I've given the name over here, class, subjects. So here normally what would happen is if I'm having multiple subjects, I would have to give foreign key reference over here for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 subjects, right? Here I can choose whatever subjects I want. So if I want, I can add computer, I can remove computer. If I want only English or maths, we will look in later examples how we can do that. We have already have some sample queries for that. So let's try by inserting. Remember, right now my collection name is my COL. Okay, so I just come over here. I just go and do. So you can see I have already inserted the record. Okay, now there are some problems. I will come into later stage. Here, when you're inserting a document, it works this way. But if you're writing your own loop, say a for loop to insert data, tabs and spaces don't work. You can see, like I can see 3 dots over here. So here in this case it works, but otherwise when we have like a for loop kind of a situation, this thing won't work. But anyways, we will look into it when we come to the next part, right? So this I've already inserted one record. Now you can see in my collection, okay? So in my initial collection, my name was XYZ. I was not having health grade information, right? In my first step. If you look into it, the collection name is my collection over here. My database right now is still Sankuul. But my collection over there the name of my collection is my COL. Here also, the name of my collection is my COL. But if you look into it, especially this grade part is missing. Something like a null value, but here the important point is I did not have a predefined structure if I want to insert a data. Right? So here we can see there is one inserted record with the name XYZ, and there is one more record which has been entered by the name Vivek. So let's see, like, if we want to show all the collections, right? You can see my call, which I have used over here. In this case, as well as this case, right? Let's see how we find the data. db.mycall. So that collection database name that fine, right? So initially I had added a test one, which has been inserted successfully. right? Second was with the name XYX, and third is with the name Vivek. So you can see it is test1 XYX, and third is with the name Vivek. Now it is a bit difficult for me to read this information. So other way to do is, b dot my or dot find y. Here you can see all my information is there in the way I had stored. So here I can see the object ID which we had not inserted, right? So if you remember the reference of my first statement, right? That was an object ID, name, and all the information associated with it. So by default, this information is your unique identifier. So here you can see object ID with the name. I had just given the name test1, that is pretty much there. This is my second information, and then this is my uh, let me scroll a bit up. Okay, better let me clear the screen. Maybe some spelling mistakes I did here. So here you can see the same ID over here with the name ID. Second also has got his own unique ID. Even the third one has got the own unique ID. Now if you see, the initial part is much more simpler. So it's like I mean 581DF 445 5D81 5D81. So here what happens in this case is it is almost like when you put new sequential ID. So this really helps you in the case like it's more like you are having your what you call this. This is actually good for shit. I forgot the word, but it's in your indexes. So it's actually pretty much useful over there. So Pankaj, yes, you can mention integer values without single quotes. You can do that. So yeah. So that is pretty much about like how you insert your data over here. So let's see like here we just got 2 or 3 records and we are doing some manipulation. Right? We have it. Yeah. Here also I will just first copy paste the program. I'm sure it won't run. I'll explain you why it's not working. And Here you can see reference error 1 is not defined. Uh, Now let's look at the code. Let me. This is the font. Yeah. So what I'm doing is I'm just writing a small single loop. It's a for loop for less than. I'm just putting 100 records. I'm putting some hard-coded subjects: chemistry, physics, maths, English, computer. As in the initial part, we were seeing right that the number of subjects were pretty much fixed. Here I am randomly picking any of the subjects. I am inserting, but here remember one thing. I am not putting in call one. Okay. So initially what we were doing is we were putting in a db.call1 wherever the insert was. I've cleared it, but you can see like a db.mycall.find. Here we would be inserting into marks. Why we doing this? It will just go simpler. It will be just simpler for us to look into the code when we go into C#, nothing more. Just give a separate name for it, and I'm inserting the name of a student is just random plus just inserting the name like a normal C# program subject and a random number. Now I was unable to run the code because there were tabs and spaces in between. So what I've done is I've just taken this code and I have removed all the formatting. Right, so you can see it's the same thing for I is equal to 0, I less than 10, and then subjects, right? So my opening cases are their subject. So it's nothing but just a pretty much a single straight line. That code is formatted. I've just removed the formatting with tabs and everything. Nothing more different from that. I think let me clear this. So here you can see like my records are inserted. Now let's see which collections I have. So ideally we had two connections. One was my call and second would be marks now, right? So you can see marks and my collection over here. Right? Yep. Anyone have got any questions till now? No questions. I would assume that. Yeah. Right. So we are already done with the marks part and the columns part. Now let's take a step ahead of this. Right. Again, as I mentioned, if I want to do db.marks.find, I will get a pretty much huge list over here. Since it's got a limit to it, so if I type IT, I can just need to keep on typing it for more. Right? It, all the info. But anyways, let's not go much into it. Right, so so now I have got all the name of my students, right? So, uh, right. Let's see if I want to get a specific student. Say I want to find a student, okay, whose name is student 0. It's pretty much similar to like, so here it will be like DB is a database, right? Marks is a table name, dot find name colon student 0. So that if I go to SQL server, it is something like from table marks find uh, where it is a where clause where name equal to student 0. So that's pretty much about it. Let's see. So you can see like for student 0, I have physics, chemistry, math, English, computer, and I have got all his marks. So all these marks are randomly generated. I don't know which marks are there. So the next question is I want to have multiple where clauses. So where this is equal to so and so and. So for example, if you want a student with name, find a student whose name is student 0 and his subject is computer. Right? So you want to find his marks. So you just put a I hope you guys are getting it. Right? So see, it's DV is again like DV is again there for sure. Dot marks is name of my collection or my table. Dot find is a default query. I put my quotes as is, right? If I don't put dot pretty, it is still okay. This pretty gives me a proper formatting. So dot pretty is not important. It is just for a better UI. Where actually the name colon is student 0, comma is like and subject is equal to computer. That is it. So I get this or this row. ID, object ID is 581, right? So it's 8AE78, the same ID, name is student 0, subject is computers and his marks are 94. Now, let's say like, we would be having a requirement where you want to filter it, like greater than, less than. Yeah, again, a bit different. db.marks.find, right? Here again, as same part, quotes subject is equal to computers, comma, I want marks. But here, you want greater than 50. So here in MongoDB, like, we cannot do a comparison. We don't have a comparison operator. You might have seen in earlier case, name equal to student is not possible. Name colon student. Right. So in that case, what we do is, again, your slash GT is greater than. Sorry, dollar $GT is greater than. So here again, a db.marks, db is in database. Marks is your collection name, dot find. Student is equal to computer and means comma, marks. We are not specifying that we want this exact marks. Hence, we need to give a condition. So we just say it is $GT colon 50, which means marks should be greater than 50. Pretty is just to make your intending clear. That is it. Right? So you will see like 94, 97, 75, 86, 55, 80. So all those who are greater than 50, you will get the list. So now let's do one more thing over here. Now, we want greater than 50 and less than 90. Okay. So, hence like we have mark, comma means and. Okay, as I mentioned earlier, comma means and. So your marks are greater than 50, hence $GT means greater than colon 50, comma and dollar LTE means less than or equal to. So when I put GTE, it means greater than or equal to. LTE means less than or equal to. LT means less than. So if I put the word E, it comes equal to also. Right? So it will be between 50 and 90. Getting it? Guys, are you getting it? Like I would be actually, I would be coming with the word like, and student in physics and computers will be definitely coming, but as I mentioned earlier, uh, and is just comma, so you are pretty much correct over there. But like would definitely coming to it. Right? So now I hope you guys are clear till now. Right? Uh, so again, one more query, pretty much similar to what you were, I think he was, uh, yeah, Pankaj, just answering to a query right now, right? Yeah. So here it is db.marks.find. Okay. So here dollar means everything, or like I'm getting all the records, or subject is equal to computers and subject is equal to physics and marks greater than 90. Getting it? So you can say it is computers and physics right now, and which marks are greater than 90. Right? So let me do one more thing. I am removing the criteria, marks greater than 90. Right, so you can see all subjects with only physics and computers. Right, so subject is equal to computers or subject is equal to physics. Here the difference is, you might have observed the comma is outside my braces. In my initial case, as I had mentioned over here, the comma was inside braces, so the subject is computers and marks greater than 50. Here what I am doing is, subject is equal to computers and subject is equal to physics. Getting the difference? Okay. Right, so that's how much pretty much queries that would be running about it. Here in the initial case we do extensive a lot of records. What I have done is, like, I have actually dumped about 100 records. So it would be very difficult for me to actually go and show you all the records. So let me show you in this part 2 is I'm right now playing with collection, my original collection. Okay. So let's see how it, because I got only 3 records over there. Right. So here I am doing for all if exists is equal to true. So whichever are my existing ones, I am just showing it to you. Right. Getting it? No. Okay. Let me do one more thing again. Dot. So here I got 3 records. Now look at the first record. I don't have the word class. Or to be more specific, this is my document, right? Or yeah, a document. I have got a field, I have got a collection, I got a document inside it, but I don't have the word class in that for the first thing, right? And the first is pretty much simple. Object ID, name, test1. That is it, nothing more. And second, I do have class. And third, I do have class, right? Okay, so let me do one more thing. And second, I also don't have a grade. So let me see if I want to check, I want to get all the records which has got grade inside it. Okay. So here I can just find only one record. Because in my first and second record, I don't have grade. So again, it is pretty much simple. Database, my collection, my first collection was my call. Then find, I want to see which has got grade and if exists. A dollar is if exists. So if dollar exists is true. So all my conditions come, it is, guys, again remember the syntax will become much more simpler if you start following a JSON notation. There is nothing much more than that. It is just how you map it, right? Like in ORM, we have a mapping the same way. Sure, Pankaj, I'll do that. In exists, what happens is here the significance you won't be able. Did I close? Yes, I did close. I think there's a crash with the MongoDB, but hope our data is intact. Perfect. So it's there. Hopefully it's there. Uh, so just to answer your query again, so if I observe right, uh, this is my collection class which I created first. Now all these three, there were actually three context objects, sorry, three collection objects, and all of them had different context, right? So my first my first object in collection, my first context object just had object ID and name. My second had object ID, name, class, subjects, and addresses. My third had again the similar thing, grade. That is my third one. Yeah, the third one had got ID, of course, by default, name, class, subjects, and addresses. Right. So this thing is was already there, but as I mentioned in NoSQL, you can define your own structure. So imagine a case that I mentioned earlier, like in my case, like where we had doctors, okay, and we used to store their addresses. Now, ideally, I won't put an empty address field over there. So I just want to get the list of all the doctors which have address. Or let's say, in this case, I've got three students. The one is a fresher who has just joined. Okay, the second one has also joined, but he is registered, and the third one is joined and given two unit tests, as I can see from here. So I want to get the list of all the students who have been examined. So let's say or in simple words, who have got the grade. Okay. So what I will do in this case is, right, so here instead of class, because class has got there are two or three, I want to find all students who have been given grades. Okay, so I will find all students with grade exist is true. Okay, so now colon means equal to, or in the C sharp it will be double equal to, right? So, so here you can see I can just see one object. So let me make it pretty. It is just meant for formatting, as I mentioned. So, so here you can see there was only one object with grade. So I was able to find only those objects, and then go on doing more filtering on all this information. Does this clarify? Right. Okay. Oh, actually running a bit late, unfortunately. What I'll do is in 5 minutes, it is a much more lesser hectic session about the official driver. Whatever we have done till now, I will try to replicate that in C sharp. Okay, and maybe we can. I will be having the database with me, right? So then we can see, like how using C sharp also we can pull the code, and with the time we are having with the remaining time, we will continue with the edit part. Because only all the insert part has been done. Here actually I'm adding more columns and doing the edit part over there. So we can do that later. But otherwise, it's only this part would be remaining. Will that be fine? We can go with the C# code. So it won't take much time, but like at least like if you start with this thing, you can make sure like you can also get that value from C#, because anyways insert and update is pretty much like your ORM. New and delete is like your ORM. So you can start doing, at least you can start pushing and pulling data. Hello. Uh, so as you can see, like you can just Google out your official Mongo drivers, and you can get it straight away from your official site. Look at the releases if you want. There are APIs available. Recently, the drivers have been kind of truncated, some of the drivers, and they have been suggesting to use API. But since my earlier releases were made on C#, so my demo would be based on that. So, couple of versions are available. The official one is 2.3. Sorry, the latest one is 2.3. But I am using 2.2.4. The only reason was to use the lower res. I was unable to download and unzip them. They were incomplete drivers, and I was actually not able to add the reference. The moment you actually go and download and unzip those drivers, you will see a list of stuff available. Right now, we would be requiring driver DLL and core DLL. That is pretty much more than enough. Right now, what I have done is, I have just in my solution, have added references to MongoDB drivers. Okay. To be honest, all I was requiring was a Mongo. Sorry. Was MongoDB driver and BSIN. Okay. Important point was why BSIN? BSIN is very much similar to your JSON objects we are talking in Java. Now you might be saying one surprising thing is object ID, right? So if you remember our previous example, so say let's go to dot my call. Consider something called as ID over here, and that is this object ID. Right. So as you normally do in any of your classes, I'll just for the sake of simplicity, I have created a Windows Form application. Okay. So remember my some good object which I was doing an entry. Marks, yeah, marks, right? My collection name was marks. I just had three fields: name, student, right, and whatever marks he is getting. Nothing more. These three were my fields. This was the name of my collection. That is it. So just to match it up, I have made a model: name, subject, and marks. The name is string, the subject is string, and my marks is my integer. Right? So I have created a small model for it, and whenever I update, I should get a unique ID. So for example, it can also be a case in your architecture where some of your data is stored in MongoDB, and some of the data is actually stored in your say what do you call it, your SQL server. So it becomes pretty much simple for you, right? I can straight away, if I have the ID, so the way we were doing with find, right? If you remember, dot find, right? So db dot marks dot find, instead of, okay, I'll just increase the font. Okay, so it will be db. Your marks here, again it will be marks because the name is the same, my collection name is the same, dot find. Instead of name, I would be having underscore ID, and here the value would be my object ID. That is it. I can get the complete collection, the complete object, JSON object for me. So, so that way it is very easy for me to get all my data for whichever I got the unique ID. So that way it is pretty much simple over here. The same way, object string, and again the marks are my integer. Right? I had just written a simple class on a click of a button, nothing fancy, right? I would be going step by step. I'm rereading the code. I've added the references. I'm just making three using MongoDB, dot driver, and using MongoDB dot basin. So how? So let's look at it. How do we create a SQL first? We first create a connection, and then we made a client of it. Here we don't have a connection object. Again, it's a security flaw, but we will cover later on how we can take care of that. Because in SQL Server we have connection string, we have username, we have password, but let's not go into it. So here is Mongo. There's an Mongo authentication, so there is something in Mongo. Okay, client. I am just creating a new client is equal to new Mongo client. The moment I created my client, I need to create a server for it. I'm just making a variable Now my server is equal to, from my client, I get list of all my servers. Ideally, I would not like to do that. But I have to. So now we have a connection to a server. As you can see, this is deprecated stuff. So as I mentioned, right, look at the use the new API instead. So if you go to the official site, there you have links for C# APIs. You can download from there, and you can use them. That's API mongodb.com C#. That is it, and we'll pretty much come to this link, right? So now I want my database. So my database is equal to now my server dot get database. I know the name of my database is Sankul, as I had defined earlier. If you remember, in my client I had done, right? So the same thing, the database name. When I switch to DB Sankul, that is the name of my database. I'm actually using the same database over here. Just a second. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Now we want to get collection of all the collections of all the marks that we have added. So I just do where my added collection is equal to database dot get collection. But I know the name of my collection type, and I know which I mapped to, and that is my marks model, right? And I need to give the name. Which collection I want, because there were two collections. One was COL1. Sorry, one was my collection, that was my COL, and second was marks. So I'm giving marks. So nothing fancy about it. Right, so let's see. One thing, make sure when you're running this code, your server is running. Right, so let's see what we have got in my added collection. Okay. Pretty much interference, right? I was getting this error here also. Okay. So I think there is some problem, maybe because my server had crashed. It remitted data because I clearly remember we have added 100 rows over here, and it's showing 500. So maybe some. So its final is correct because there are for 100 times for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it added 500 rows to it, right? So let's see. So so I know whatever collection I am getting is correct. Okay. So now since it's a where object, and I can actually use the way I want to. Like I can do whatever modifications I want using link queue, everything. Now let's do one thing before we continue. Let's see if MongoDB has right. So yeah, I do have a lot of objects over here. Let me clear all these objects. Right. So all I need to do is remove all. So my collection dot remove all. It is pretty much similar to what we do in our ORM or entity framework. Only the namings have changed a bit, right? So for CRUD operations, for create you do insert, for read you do find, which we have been doing repeatedly. For update we do update same, and for remove we have recently seen we have done the remove. Now let's see if I still have those values in my database, right? So db dot marks dot find. Fine. None of them exist. Uh, Now I want to actually go and add one record over here. What I do over here is again you pretty much C# code created an object of marks model. Right? So model which we created over here, marks model, the same model I've created, populated some values, marks console 40 was good passing enough for me, and computer science was my branch, so I just added PS over here. And in my collection, I go and insert. That is it. Pretty straightforward. Like here the only thing is you may not even write dot update. Maybe a bad thing, but yeah, this is how it works over here. Right, so again check db dot marks dot find, and here you can see the record has been added. Console subject CX marks 40. As I mentioned earlier, if I want to get the value of what object ID was added, I have not added ID, but here I can see ID over here. Oh, sorry, I have added it. No, output ID. I will just change to something else. So my newly added ID is 581 ending in EF. Right, so then let's see. Here I have 581 ending in EF, but 1 in between. So my data has already been added over here. So as I mentioned, it is pretty much similar to what we do in entity framework, and that is the reason they have the official drivers. So that was about it. If you have any questions, I'm sorry, like we are running late of time, or I would have continued. But yeah, I do promise next time I would be covering the update part.
Okay, Sankul, there is one question, I guess. Just check it out.
Yeah, connection. As I mentioned, like initially itself, uh, in MongoDB we don't have a concept of connection string. So if you remember, initially I was showing you when I started the Mongo server, I had written Mongo, and in my whatever the client I was starting, I had written, if I remember, Mongo itself. So there is a way you can do it, but there are different ways actually you do it. But right now, this is like for initial phase, this is how. There is a way you can actually get authentication to your system. But here you do because like ideally keyword for like I will definitely let you know keyword for like.
Okay, guys, if you have any questions, please do ask. Or else you can just mail to us and mail to me. I can just forward it to Sankul. Anyhow, I'll try to upload this video on YouTube so that you can have a reference view of this video. Okay, I guess there is no question. So we will end for the day. Okay. In any case, if you have anything, any suggestions, any question, please do ask us. And we will meet again. Okay, there is one more question. Any good book on MongoDB? Sankul,
Lot
any
of online
good
stuff
book?
available. Actually, to be honest, a lot of like for example, the documentation, like the link I was showing over here. These are pretty much, I mean, exhaustive documentation. Even on MongoDB, they have online courses available. Uh, MongoDB.org. So you can even take a small course. I think it's free. So I think that would be the best way to do it.
Yeah, actually,
Books I've never
even I have
tried,
seen
but
this.
it has been more of like requirement-based reading and
Yeah, Pankaj, there are classroom tutorials available on MongoDB University, something like that, right? I have visited one of the website. So they have a kind of a classroom
yeah.
training. You
I
can
think
just, and it's a free of
that is
cost.
that's MongoDB University, right? University.mongodb.org. Yeah.
Hmm.
So here there are a lot of like university.mongodb.com .com, yeah.
Yeah, these
Not
are the
org,
online
dot
courses
.com.
which are available. Hmm. And it's a free of cost. So it's like
And
a,
I think and
sorry,
sorry, go ahead.
go ahead, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Or you can also try Prudence site if the organization has got a Prudence site account because they have got some really good stuff available.
Hmm.
But the problem with Prudence site is like some of the issues that you will face in real time. The Prudence site won't give you. I started using that, but it didn't help me much. I was unable to even start my server, to be honest. So I gave up on that. Yeah. Pankaj, I think there is a forward slashes for like I'm not so sure forward slash or dot slash. I need to check and I'll get back to you, but I'm trying to recall it. And I think it's a forward slash like normally like as we write like. There's nothing like. Hello, hello.
Yes.
So I mean when you do like name equal to and then you put a percentage in your SQL server. Here I think it's a forward slash or dot slash. I need to check it out actually to be very honest. I have used it but don't slash is for sure. I'm just confused the backslash forward slash dot slash. But I just recalled it like looking at right now. So but I'm not so sure. When I was looking at the site, they just recorded. I'm not so sure.
Thank you for joining in. Definitely we will connect you again on some more topics on this.
Yeah,
So
next time
stay
actually
tuned,
we'll make
stay
sure we
connected
do
with
the,
me.
yeah. So next time maybe like, we will actually write the queries for editing. Of course, I will cover the like part also and editing from your database. And also, there are some different formats because for editing, it's not like normal entity framework. You write a small query for that. So,
Okay, thank you Sankul for sharing your knowledge, and we'll make sure that we'll have some more kind of this session. So
yeah.
have a great day, guys. Have a great weekend, and we'll meet you next time on next weekend. Thank you.
Sure, sure.